What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode of 121 of Life on the Ave. Super excited to have our guest here, Mr. John Carney. Do you have any nicknames? Did anybody call you any nicknames?
The nickname that I got when I arrived in college was JC.
JC?
So my college buddies call me JC.
Yeah.
I don't really have a nick. People call me other things here in Wilmington, but
in my mind, I've been calling you GMC this week. Governor Mayor Carney is what I've been calling you.
Some of that. The current governor has coined some term that he calls me that's similar to that, but it's confusing for people what they're supposed to call me. And I said, you can call me anything, and I give him my total dad joke, just don't call me late for dinner, what my dad used to always say. I was one of 9 kids, so being called late for dinner was not something that you wanted.
No, there'd be nothing left.
There would be nothing left.
Yeah,
exactly
nothing
right.
left. Yeah, so you're eating the scraps off the floor.
Exactly.
Yep. Yeah, but super excited to have you in. Thanks so much for coming in, and bringing one of my favorite. What we call ourselves.
Anthony's the real mayor. I mean, let's be real.
He really
is the real mayor. He knows everybody, and they know him. Some for good encounters, some for not exactly legal encounters, but he knows.
He's got the best handshake game. And did you see that? That was not our first time doing that. That right? Connection that was unbelievable.
That's involved some practice.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, years I've been putting in work. But today's guest is someone who has spent nearly 4 decades serving the people of Delaware. But before any of the titles, he was a kid growing up in Claymont as the second of 9 children and a family of teachers. Joining us today is John Carney, the 58th Mayor of Wilmington. I did not know that about you, that you grew up in Claymont. So
I'm
you're
a Clay monster.
Clay monster.
Proudly.
Yes.
Talk about it a lot. We actually talked about it this morning about an establishment up in Claymont, which is really, it's called the Waterfall now. But when I was a kid, it was the food fair. It was a supermarket, and we used to play stickball in the back parking lot. And the parking lot apparently doesn't work so well for the events they have now, but it was great for us.
Yeah, I love that. So I'm not originally from Delaware. I'm from Delaware County, right over the state line.
Most people in Claymont are from Delaware County.
Correct.
They moved to Delaware to Claymont to escape the taxes in Delaware County. Yeah.
So
including my parents, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So my mom grew up in Chester, and my dad was from West Philly. So close enough.
Did your mom go to Chester High?
My mom taught at Chester High. She did her student teaching there, but no, she went to a school that's now closed called Notre Dame Academy in Moylan. I don't even know where Moylan is, but that's where
my mother is class of 1979, Notre Dame Academy, all Delco cheerleading, 1978, 1979.
Is that right?
Shout out my mom, Lisa Garman. Yep.
Always good to shout out your mom, I think.
Yeah,
right?
my grandmother is Notre Dame Academy.
Oh, wow.
Moylan is in between Chester and Media.
Okay.
Yep, it's the, now it's currently Pennsylvania Institute of Technology is the school, PIT.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Yeah, mom's a St. Robert's and Notre Dame graduate.
Fist bump again. My mom went to St. Robert's as well, too.
God.
Yeah, 21st and Upland is where they grew up.
Oh, wow. 18th and Hyatt was where my mom lived there. They lived in Sun Hill for a while. They lived out by the park, by Chester Park, and then they moved to 18th and Hyatt.
So question, were you born?
I was born in Wilmington.
Okay,
My
gotcha.
oldest sister, I'm one of 9. I have an older sister. She was born in Philadelphia. My parents were living, my father was teaching, I think, at Northeast High School, and they were living up that way.
Yeah. So that throws a little wrench in my plans, because every time I have somebody on the podcast, the theme of the podcast is we interview Delebrities, so local Delaware celebrities. And my favorite joke, not being from Delaware, is that all the Delaware's best athletes are from Pennsylvania. But you throw a little wrench in that mold, as does Troy Reeder and as does Mr. Brian O'Neill as well too.
Yeah, he's got to be up there, right?
Yeah. You opposed to hearing my Brian O'Neill story? It's not that great.
I'm Brian. It's funny story I tell about Brian. He has an autistic younger daughter. So we lived 2 blocks away on 19th Street. They lived on Van Buren on the corner of, first on 20th Street and then on the corner of 20th and Van Buren. So a block and a half away. So on weekends, he age-wise, he was between my 2 boys, Sam and Jimmy. Brian was in the middle. So he spent a lot of time at our house, particularly on the weekends, because his folks were busy with his youngest sister. So one time he brought his homework over, and he asked my wife Tracey if she would sign his homework, and she said sure. She signed the homework. He took it into the teacher. And the teacher said, "This is not your wife." And Brian said, "On the weekend, she is." It's a great story. It gives you an idea of how close we were to Brian as he was growing up.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I officially met Brian for the first time in May. Went to a beautiful wedding. Shout out the lovely couple, Kennedy Barone and David Barone.
Wasn't he a basketball player for Sally's?
He was. Yeah, he was.
Played with Brian.
Also, big family. Yeah. So Brian was in the wedding.
Okay.
So Brian was in the wedding, and I'm not sure if you've ever seen Shrek 2. But I'm growing up with kids. I got, my Shrek socks on. Shrek 2, Shrek becomes a human being, and he is gorgeous. He is head and shoulders above everybody else. That is Brian walking down in this church. I'm like, holy smokes. Like, this is what a real-life NFL right tackle looks like, right? And I've been trying to get him on. I've had Troy on the podcast. We've had a lot of other, cool people on the podcast. And all night, I'm just like, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? So finally, we're at Bach High School in Philadelphia, which is now like a bar event space. And I catch him over. He's talking to two of my friends, Danny and Will Gladnick. And I go up and I didn't want to just be like, oh, dude, Minnesota Vikings. Got it. I didn't want to so I was like, all right, my intro will be like, hey, I play pickleball with your dad. So I go up and I say, hey, Brian, Vince Garman.
Pickleball with your dad, that's a big thing,
It is, because he's really good.
Oh, is he?
Yes.
Yeah, he's
competitive. He's very competitive. He's an athlete, and that older group of guys up there at DuPont, they're so good. They love the chirp. They they love it. So I was thinking all right, maybe he would like it. And he just shakes my hand. He goes, all right, cool, man. And just goes back to the conversation. I'm like, I didn't have a follow-up or anything prepared. So Brian O'Neill, I'm coming for you. I'm going to figure it out. We will, get him on the podcast.
I'm sure he'd be glad to do it. He's here a lot. He married a local girl, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Kevin Riley's niece, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
So Kevin's sister's daughter.
Yeah, is it? He married a Gorelick, right?
Yes.
Yep. So I run into her dad. He's an appraiser in the area, so I meet with him, and then her mom is one of my favorite follows on TikTok.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. If you're not following,
I'm not a
Gorelick Interiors.
I told you about social media. It's not my thing.
Yeah. So we love to give shout outs here.
I'm old school in that regard.
Yeah, Gorelick Interiors. They design interior design houses. They're most famous ones that pop off are Stone Harbor, Avalon, $10 million houses, interior designing. It's unbelievable.
That's out of my league.
Yeah,
by a lot.
Same. But yeah, maybe one of these days. I think my wife would yell at me if I didn't finish your whole bio. But I'm really enjoying this so far. So Mayor Carney's career has taken him through nearly every level of public service, from Deputy Chief Administrative Officer for Newcastle County to Delaware's Secretary of Finance, Lieutenant Governor, Delaware's lone member of Congress, and eventually the 74th Governor of Delaware. In 2025, he returned home to lead the city, where he and his wife Tracey raised their family. But outside of government, there's another side to the mayor that a lot of people love to talk about: sports. He quarterbacked the football team at St. Mark's High School, leading the school to its first state championship in the 1970s. From there, he headed to Dartmouth College, where he earned all Ivy League and MVP honors as a defensive back, and even walked on to the lacrosse team. When he returned to Delaware, he stayed close to the game, even spending time coaching under the legendary Harold Tubby Raymond at the University of Delaware. These days, he's still a huge sports fan, especially when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles, and he also proudly cheers on his nephew, Brian O'Neill, of the Minnesota Vikings. At home, he and his wife Tracey raised their two sons, Sam and Jimmy, nearby in Wilmington's Triangle neighborhood, the same community where they still live today. He often talks about some of his favorite years spent coaching youth sports, cheering from the sidelines, and raising a family in the city he now leads. Welcome to the podcast, Mayor John Carney.
Great. It's great to be here.
Yeah.
In my hometown now.
I love it. So, elephant in the room here, kind of how you ended up here, a couple ways. Number one, Miss Caroline a little bit. But number two, our friend, she says that she's got you on speed dial across the way, Miss Kelly Hughes. So Miss Kelly told me that
she's got super. If there's super speed dial, she's got super speed dial.
Yeah. So I feel your pain. I'll commiserate with you a little bit. Kelly's been on my ass before about the snow plowing and making sure that my sidewalk is cleared off as well too. So
that's a benefit to you. I mean, she was all over me and us to get these areas, particularly folks that had commercial establishments. And she's right. The problem is to plow from curb to curb, you got to get your car out of the way.
It's tough.
Yeah. And you got to have a place to put it. We hoped to, the second storm we had, we hoped to be able to do some trial, moving folks from one side to the other. But fortunately, this storm was not nearly as difficult.
No, I'll give you a pass on the first one. That one was brutal. That was unbelievable.
And we had we took all our sanitation workers that drive the trucks and converted them to put them on the plows. Mm-hmm. So we didn't pick up the trash, but we went to the plows. More than half of them had never driven a plow before because we've never had an event like that.
OTJ, on the job training. Yeah.
Which, with the snow plows, a little dicey, I remember talking to the guys, can't we just get a little bit, try to get in and get around when we have a stretch of curb that's open? The guy's like, you know what? This is not as easy as you think, particularly for these guys to do that kind of thing. Like here, like try to get these curbs around these establishments here. It's just a mess. Yeah.
It's a mess. But Kelly nominated me
but it is a good example of the difference between being governor and mayor. When I went to a funeral during just after the snowstorm, a woman who was sitting in front of me turned around and she said, "When are you going to get Delaware Avenue plowed?" They expect the mayor to get out there on the plow and get it done.
Yeah, that's funny. But Kelly nominated me for Wilmington Citizen of the Week because I was out here making sure Delaware Ave and Scott Street,
right?
Was plowed up.
Well, Delaware Ave is first priority because it's more of a major thoroughfare and it's a bus route. Mm-hmm. The bus routes are major first priorities for it.
Yeah. But she was cracking up. She's like, I talked to the mayor about you. I talked to Jimmy Spadola about you. I'm like, Kel, I was just avoiding all the work that I had on my plate and just, shoveling out there. I was just getting a workout in. That's too funny. But something that I'm really excited to talk to you about. So that is my next question that I always ask everybody from Delaware is how many state championships did you win?
Just the one.
Just the one.
In football.
Okay, so you got one.
We got one.
Good.
We got close. My brother, who played on that team as well, he got two. He played on when I was a senior. He was a sophomore. And then the following.
I don't consider somebody a real Delawarean unless they have a state title.
Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. That's a pretty limiting factor, as it turns out.
Everybody I run into's got multiple. My wife's got like three.
Well, she must have gone to Ursuline or something.
She did.
There you go. Well, that explains it. If you go to Ursuline or maybe Salesianum, or if you play baseball or soccer for St. Mark's, you have more than one. I mean, Tommy Lemon, as the baseball coach, who, by the way, he grew up here in the city, up on 28th Street near the old Christ Our King Church and school. He's in the baseball Hall of Delaware Baseball Hall of Fame, I'm sure, and he's probably got 4 or 5 state championships under his belt. Mm-hmm. And then his successor, whose name's escaping me at the moment, he had similar, Smitty. He had a similar number, just passed away, sadly. The guys like that, they've got more than one.
Yeah, so how did you end up at St. Mark's from Claymont?
That's a great question. I was a Sally's guy, from the time I was little. I used to go to the games. My neighbor across the street, a guy named Tyrone Ganabi, was the quarterback of the team. He was 2 years older than I was at Holy Rosary. He was the quarterback for the team there. And it's just a guy that I really looked up to, and so I would go to his older brother Steve, who played for Sally's on the 68 team that was undefeated. They had a tie against St. James, which was a big Delaware
I would have been a
County.
St. James guy.
I bet you would
if it didn't close down in 1992 when I was born.
My two uncles
go Dogs
were St. James Bulldogs. Mm-hmm. That's right. That was their one tie. It wasn't a loss. But I used to go to all the games, so I was all set to go. Well, then they built this new school. My oldest sister, she decided we weren't able to afford Ursuline, which was probably, I don't know, $1,200 at the time. And so she decided to go to St. Mark's. She couldn't go to Sally's, obviously, because it's all boys' school. So my parents were like, yeah, we don't have two buses leaving here in the morning. So I ended up, visiting as, they took all the Catholic school kids around when the school was first opening to show them the school. It was beautiful, new building, great campus. And so I ended up, even when you think about it, and of course, in those days, it didn't take you as long to get from Claymont to St. Mark's because there wasn't quite as much traffic. But yeah, we ended up there at St. Mark's and not at Salesianum.
Yeah, that is.
We actually, when I first went there, you rode the bus, and we had kids from Chester that rode on the bus with us
down to St. Mark's.
Yeah, they would get picked up before the bus came through Claymont, and it was, I don't know, half dozen or so, which just seemed kind of odd to me. Otherwise, I don't know whether St. Robert's had closed then or what, but there was one guy I think had gotten kicked out of St. James, and so he was on the bus with us.
That's too funny. So football guy in high school. You play any other sports while you were at St. Mark's?
Yeah, I played
any other sports growing
basketball. You mentioned the state championship. We didn't win it, but we went to the semifinals my junior year. Actually, it was the first in those days. We lost to Wilmington High, which was a high school in those days. They ended up losing.
My mother-in-law went to Wilmington High.
Is that right? Yeah, they ended up losing in the finals to Howard. And Salesianum was the other school in the Final Four. And in those days, they had a consolation third place game, which we played Sally's, and we ended up beating them, which was our state championship.
In the Holy War?
The Holy War, the first time we ever beat them in anything, I think. It was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. So from there, once again, like Claymont all the way down to Newark, that's a hike to me. Pike Creek, Newark area. But then you take another hike up to Dartmouth College. How do we end up at Dartmouth?
Yeah, that's a little.
What do you guys call yourself? Big Green?
Big Green.
Big Green,
They
right?
used to be the Indians, but that went away in the early 1970s. Well, I was being recruited by some of the Ivy League schools at Yale and Penn and Dartmouth and University of Delaware, and so. In those days, to go to all-in costs at Dartmouth were like $6,500 a year, which was a prince's retirement for our family. And the University of Delaware was probably the same as going to Archmere, so maybe close to $2,000, $1,500 or so. And they had scholarships then when Tubby Raymond was coaching that were based on academics and how good a player you were, and so it really came down at the end to Penn and Dartmouth and University of Delaware. And I'll never forget, Tubby came to my house, met with me and my parents, and at one point, he knew that Dartmouth was in the mix, and he said, well, if you want to be big in Delaware, you'll go to Delaware. And and then when I told the guys that...
that didn't put a chip on your shoulder or anything, did it?
No. He was actually right. I mean, he was actually right. And that's kind of part of the story. But when I went to the guys, one of whom was teaching at the University of Delaware, but a Dartmouth grad who was helping the coach recruit me to Dartmouth, when I told him that story, he said, yeah, that's probably true, but if you want to be big anywhere, you'll go to Dartmouth College. And he was right, and so was Tubby right. But when I worked my way back to Delaware after coaching elsewhere, most recently at Penn, why I didn't go to Penn, I'm not quite sure, because I was a big Five fan, Big Five basketball fan. It was right up the road.
Franklin Field would have been
Franklin
sick.
Field. Yeah. My parents could have gone to the games. I don't know. So when I came back and coached at Penn. But when I came back, ended up at Delaware coaching under Coach Raymond as an assistant on a freshman program, and realized then ultimately ran for office. When I ran for office, nobody cared about whether I went to Dartmouth College, University of Delaware Graduate School. That was
good enough.
That was better.
Yeah, that was good enough.
So Tubby was right, and the professor, a guy named Tom Parkinson, was right as well. Worked out great for me. No regrets.
Yeah, good for you. Good for you.
And by the way, and it's true of, I would say it's partially true of the athletes who go to the University of Delaware because they tend to be from at least the region.
Yep.
But my teammates at Dartmouth, were from all over the country. Mm-hmm. And so I have friends now that I regularly keep in contact with, which were some of my strongest financial supporters when I ran for public office. Lived in California, Chicago, Boston, you name it, all around the country. And obviously doing really good things wherever they live.
Yeah, that's awesome. When in high school, did you go both ways? Quarterback, D-back?
Yeah. I played safety and quarterback. One of my buddies used to always get upset because we were very competitive. We ran track. We played defensive back. He played a little split end, and he was clearly as good as I was as a defensive back, but I was the guy who got first team All-State because in part because of playing quarterback.
Yeah.
He just didn't think that was quite fair, And he, by the way, he's a good friend still to this day, and he iced our win against Sally's by intercepting a pass late in the game. Not that we remember these things that happened 50 years ago, but
late in the game,
he had the interception that iced, that iced it. We won 13-7, I guess it was.
That's awesome. Yeah, so doesn't sound like you were too upset just going to one side of the ball on playing D-back at Dartmouth.
Oh no! Well, I broke my hand early on. In those days you couldn't play varsity at Delaware or in the Ivy League, and so the first week of practice I broke my hand, my throwing hand, and so that was the end of my career as a quarterback. Mm-hmm. Plus we had, I think, like 12 quarterbacks from all over the country, and I just fit in as an athlete. More on the defensive side.
Gotcha. And I'm building up to something here, so we'll get to it in a minute. But when you came back,
don't worry, I don't mind talking about all this stuff. It's really kind of fun.
Staff, yeah. When you were on Tubby's staff, what side of the ball were you on?
Yeah, well, that's interesting because when I was on Tubby's staff, I worked on the freshman program with a guy named Tom Coder, who was a fantastic guy. He coached at Christiana, which, by the way, was the only team that beat us my senior year when we won the state championship. Just a funny guy, cared about the kids, fun to work with. But I worked with him. He knew I was quarterback, and I worked with him on the offensive side. We were playing still the wing T at that time, not these spread offenses like they do today, running the ball most of the time. And I knew all the plays because that's what we ran at St. Mark's. And that version of it with different terminology at Dartmouth, even though that was not part of my position. So yeah, I still see me those players that played for me, played for us. Then Tom has passed away sadly, but yeah, it was a great experience.
Yeah. So that's what I wanted to get to there a little bit. So when's the last time like you came in the huddle and you're just like, hey, 989 waggle on 1-on-1? Ready? Yeah, can you give me one of those?
989, pretty good. Yeah,
not too bad, right?
Not too bad. No, yeah, we did different things, we did like slot 121 and those kinds of things. Because Tubby started to spread things out as the game went more from a running game to a passing game. And so by the time I stopped coaching, which would have been 1986, he was running pretty much a spread offense out of the old wing T.
Yeah.
So he had to come up with different terminology, which I was, kind of unfamiliar with because I know I never ran it as a quarterback. We were basic, man. We had a fullback, the old wing T was really fullback oriented. And we had this kid who was 6'2", 215 pounds, All-State as a sophomore, junior, and senior, went to Ohio State and played as a tight split end and tight end at that size. And caught the winning touchdown pass in their win against Michigan when he was a senior. So that kid was his name was Chuck Hunter, a great player.
So you guys ran 31 trap, 36 down all day?
All day long, all day long. And 43 and 47 cross block, which was another one for him coming off the tackle. And he had 189 yards. None of us did anything else in the championship game against Dickinson except Chuck. He ran for 189 yards. And he's still going.
That's awesome. That's awesome. When's the last time you gave a snap count? Yeah. Can you give me one?
Years.
I can go first. I've been working up for this. Yeah.
We usually would start with the color. So green, 131.
Yeah.
Set. That's kind of it.
I like it. My mom moved to Garnet Valley in 2018 to coach him, but she got her start in high school coaching 1999 to 2010 at Strathaven High School. So Coach Clancy, and he's wing T. They run it, from 7th grade all the way through high school, and he still has a quarterback come to the sideline, get the play, run back to the huddle, everything. So I grew up going to Strathaven football camps. I ran the wing T when I was playing CYO football.
Where? St. Dorothy's or?
No. But good Delco name drop right there. Our Lady Charity in Brookhaven.
Oh yeah, okay, sure.
So Our Lady Charity, and then I matriculated to the Haverford School up on the main line.
Sure.
Yep. And
St. James was not open then, right?
No, St. James was not open. I broke my mom's heart when she was like, "You don't want to go to Catholic school?" I'm like, "Mom, I've gone to Catholic school since pre-K, like through 8th grade. You don't want to go to O'Hara, Bonner, Malvern, Episcopal, Sally's, Archmere, none of these?" I said, "Nope, I'm going to the Haverford school."
We had a lot of kids when I was growing up, and even when I was in high school, from Delaware County who went to Archmere.
Yeah, a ton.
A lot of basketball players. I'm trying to think. There were a family of them, Carneys. They were related to a good friend of mine, no relation to us, but. And they were from up from Delaware County.
Yeah. And gosh, there's another one. I want to say not the Dohertys maybe or something like that. I'll have to ask my parents. But they grew up on Schoolhouse Lane. A bunch of kids as well too. Went to Archmere. Names escaping me. But yeah. That was a little talking ball knowledge. Yeah. I'm impressed you got Delco roots. So my other zinger.
My talk about Delco roots. My uncle John Buckley, my mother's brother, is in the Delco Sports Hall of Fame.
Nice.
He was a track star at St. Robert's and at St. James. Ran track for Villanova. Was one of the Olympic prospects in the 1960 Olympics. Sprained his hammy, pulled a hammy in the Olympic trials, and so was never able. But he was like a 26-foot long jumper, and still, I don't think they ever broke his 100-yard dash record at St. James. He ran like a 9.5.
That's flying.
Yeah, it's really flying.
That's flying. Yeah,
I've got a great picture of him. From the Daily Times, the Delaware County Daily Times, crossing the tape with the guys that he's, first place with the other guys, behind him.
Yeah. That's how I learned to read. So the
Daily Times.
The Daily Times. Yeah, the Daily Times. So I was small my whole life until my senior year because. From 3 years old to 14, I would drink 2 cups of coffee and read the paper. I would read the paper back to front because the sports section was on the back.
Yeah.
And then my aunt wrote for the Daily Times. She did Cop Shop. So.
Oh my gosh.
And then it's funny because I'm very comfortable with who I am because I've been reading horoscopes since I was 3 years old. Right? Yeah. So I'm a Sagittarius. So I would read the horoscopes and then I would read the Dear Abbeys as well too. So, but yeah, that's how I learned to read the Daily Times. That's hilarious. You ready for my other zinger? I told you I had a couple.
No zingers. Okay, zinger.
Yeah. So this one is I moved to Wilmington officially in 2017. So I was a big Perzicki guy. but Kelly couldn't get him on the podcast, so I might be
voted for his
switching over.
opponent?
Yeah. I might be switching over to being a big Carney guy now. Yeah, because you got the Delco roots.
That's right. There you go.
I love it. Yeah, we've had Gene Deldon on, so I'm a big fan of his. We had a couple.
He's a delightful young man.
Yes,
he really is.
Yeah.
I'm very
great guy.
I ran into him. I know his dad. Worked with his dad, obviously, over the years. And I ran into him in the airport one day, and he was flying with his wife to Tennessee. You know, he went to East Tennessee State or something like
Middle
that.
Tennessee, I believe.
Middle Tennessee, right. And anyway, I had this conversation with this young man was like, wow, this guy is really impressive.
Yeah.
Just really polite, you know.
Big guy, too.
Big.
He's a presence.
Yeah, he's a big presence. Nice guy. Good coach.
Yeah, good coach. Then we had a couple other guys on. You're not the first mayor that we've had on. We actually had a member of your former staff, Mr. John Cohill, on the podcast before. So, you know,
is
just
he
a lot of
promoting
Sally's
himself
press.
as a mayor now? Or?
No, that's me promoting him as a mayor. So that's me. So I joke around. My daughter, it breaks my wife's heart, but my daughter says that she wants to go to Padua because they're the pandas. Yep. So Miss Caitlin has brainwashed her to be a panda right now, and then my son wants to go where Uncle Cole went to school. So Sally. So, I play into it. They got to be a good neighbor, right? Abyssinia is beautiful. Yeah.
Totally. You know, I've spent not as much as I used to. I was a runner for years, and so I used to go into Bainbridge Stadium and like. Back when I first moved into the neighborhood, which would have been 1987, it's been kind of taken over by Salesiana by agreement with the city and an investment by Mr. Abyssino. Then it's really been a real improvement to the facility.
Yeah, huge.
Yeah, it's great.
Huge. Yeah, because it's funny. My growing up in Pennsylvania, like we would come to Delaware, but like the extent of my Delaware knowledge was Dick's Sporting Goods, and then the Wilmington Blue Rocks, and then like the first time I saw Abyssinio, like as an adult, I was like, oh, I came here to watch, a couple high school football games back in the day. Funny enough, I live, right next to it. And then I remember the first time I was showing houses up in Claymont. And like pull behind like the Claymont Elementary School, and I see the field back there.
Yeah.
And I was like, I remember I had this absolute freak of an 8-year-old chasing me down in a purple uniform with a white helmet, Claymont. I think, what were they, the Falcons or something like that?
Claymont Falcons.
Claymont
Good
Falcons.
memory.
I was an Aston Bandit, and I was like, I remember scoring a touchdown on this field. Like, holy smokes. So, I love Wilmington. So, last couple questions for you here. Appreciate your time. What is, your kind of message? I'm a big fan of the slogan. Not sure if it's still, your slogan, but Wilmington's a place to be somebody. Like, what's your message to, outsiders? Because Delaware has an influx of people. A lot of people moving, down to the beach, but there's a lot of people moving here. Me, I'm a Delaware County guy. I think that I might be the only Delawarean that my Delco friends know. And so that's why I do a lot of business, exactly what you described, people moving into Claymont, North Wilmington to escape, those PA taxes. But, what's your selling point on Wilmington?
Yeah,
why should people move here?
We're a really thriving
businesses
small
invest here.
city. We've got a great and developing a downtown area. We got great neighborhoods, great parks all over the city. It's just it's less expensive. It's less stressful than like larger cities. And there's more to do than living in the suburbs. I grew up in arguably a suburb, Claymont, little town. And, I always kind of envied my friends who went to St. Mark's from the city of Wilmington because they lived in the city. And it just seemed like there was a hell of a lot more to do. This area here in Trolley, there's really a lot of restaurants, a lot of entertainment. You can walk to things. I just like the walkability and just being close to folks. It's not obviously for everyone, but it's really a good place to be, a place to be somebody, if you will.
Is that still our slogan? Wilmington? No. What do we got? What are we working
with?
It
was Wilmington in the middle of it all, and we're kind of, I've spent 6 years, six unproductive, 3 terms in Congress and in D.C., and really kind of learned to appreciate what we had here in Wilmington. And cost of living, we're halfway between Washington, D.C. and New York. You can get on the train. You can go either way. If you want to have, activities, entertainment, the restaurants that aren't available here, you can go to Philly for an evening. Just a lot of things to do. We're in the middle of it all in that sense. And as it relates to the state of Delaware, we're it. We're the big city.
I know. Yeah. That's what I try to tell people now when they're like, hey, I'm going to the city. I'm like, oh, cool. Where are we going? Downtown? Because I don't go to Philadelphia at all. To me, exactly what you described, I grew up in suburbia in Aston, but this feels like a suburb, that feels like downtown,
right?
But I still get all the benefits of both, and quick and easy. If I have to go to New York,
I'm a big sports fan, so I go to South Philly. I'm a big basketball fan, so just a couple weeks ago, we're up to see St. Joe's. Just last week to see St. Joe's and LaSalle out at St. Joe's. I love
Big Five action.
I used to go down to the Plestra all the time. Of course, when I was working at Penn, I lived right there. So, kind of attracted to that side of Philadelphia. I love the downtown areas, getting along the river and that type of thing. But, don't do so much of that now at my age, 69. It's a little bit for the younger crowd.
So what do you do? Coffee guy? If we're getting coffee, where are we getting coffee at?
Well, I used to be a Wawa
nothing wrong
guy.
with that. Yeah, that's a perfectly acceptable answer.
Get Wawa to open a store in Wilmington unsuccessfully, but I was a regular. I didn't drink coffee for the longest time.
Mm-hmm.
And I had some stomach issue that wasn't related to coffee, but the doctor said, maybe you should quit drinking coffee. I wasn't drinking much at the time. This is literally when I was in graduate school. And it turned out that I had lactose intolerance, so it was the milk or the cream in the coffee or whatever it is. But when I was in Congress, I was going out with my chief of staff, and we went to what was Loma at the time down on Lower Market Street, the coffee house on the corner. And he said, you want a coffee? I was like, I don't drink coffee. And I said, oh, okay, I'll take a coffee. And I was like, this is a wonder drug. where have I been, And so I started drinking more coffee and really like the dark coffee at Wawa. So now I go to the Acme and I get Pete's coffee, which is something my sister and her husband drink, and so that's usually where I go. I used to go from time to time to the Starbucks on Market Street, which unfortunately just closed. So we got Scout in my neighborhood that got to try and pick up there, and so there's some good
Scout ain't too bad, and unfortunate with the Starbucks closing, but we're not going to break any news here. But I have heard some exciting rumors about that spot, so we'll see what happens there.
There's a lot of exciting things going on Market Street, so
I'm not allowed to break the news.
One more would be good.
Yeah, exactly. Just out of curiosity, what do you guys do for lunch? You guys get whisked around all day? I see you in and out of Deco. What's our spot at Deco?
I like. Just enjoyable with Juno, and but we'll go to Deco. That's kind of Bluebird, which is across from the Y. They got some great chicken soup there.
I need to try that now.
You should check it out. would check it out soon because they don't do as strong a business maybe as they need. They do some catering out of that
For sure. We'll go
facility,
down there and
which is
shoot a
good.
video ASAP. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I love Capriati's. I'm a Capriati's guy.
There you go.
know.
True blue Delaware. Yeah.
Just small turkey, light on the mayo. No peppers, pickles, no peppers,
Yeah.
pickles.
Yeah. Yeah. How exciting was it just going back to October? That's when I first met Miss Caroline. But that Angelo's opening, that energy that day down there was just absolutely unbelievable down there at Deco.
And that's what we try to do all
That's a
over the
huge
city.
Philadelphia business opening up their first location outside of Philadelphia
Yeah,
here in Wilmington.
We're going to have a grand opening, a reopening of Corteva's offices downtown, more than 200 employees. That's going to be a big deal. Those kinds of things. We like to make Wilmington the exciting place to be somebody, if you will, in the middle of it all. Whichever you prefer.
Yeah, last two questions here. Just finishing up, we did, breakfast, lunch, dinner. Where we headed to?
For dinner?
Yeah.
Well, I like the trolley area. I'm a Kitchelines folks, like a pretty traditional in that sense.
My son loves Kitchelines.
I'll tell you my fave, though,
Yeah.
is Attilio's. I mean, I'm an
there
Attilio's
you
guy.
go.
Yeah.
When you walk in, do they ask you if you had a reservation?
No, because they don't do reservations to my knowledge. In fact, you better bring cash because they don't take credit card there either, so.
Yeah.
I do like Attilio's, Mrs. Rubino's.
If that
every
wood
now and
paneling
then,
could talk at Attilio's.
every
they'd
now
have
and then
some
we'll drop
stories.
into Columbus Inn, special occasions, that type of thing. It's a good spot.
That's awesome. All right, last question for you here. Favorite Wilmington event that happens? Thanksgiving parade, Memorial Day parade, St. Patty's Loop. Favorite Wilmington event,
so
Jazz Festival.
I'm a pretty big parade guy, and so I love the Christmas parade, JC's, love the St. Patty's Day parade, and kind of everything that goes along with it. I mean, those are just such great community events. We have a parade. I'm part of a group called the St. Patrick's Society.
Yep.
We a group of loyal Irish Americans started this probably in the early 1990s. Mike Harkins, Mayor Frawley, who was alive at the time, and Joe Farley. It's evolved.
Yeah.
Joe's son, Joe Jr., now is kind of runs it. We raise about $250,000 for St. Patrick's Center, which does great work, particularly for elderly, low-income elderly and those that are homeless. So that's a big one for me. I love the games still at Abyssinian Stadium. I love going over there to see those kinds of things. Clifford Brown Jazz Festival. You gotta love that. That's one of our highlights every year.
That's on my hit list this year.
It's really
haven't made it out
cool.
to that.
Stand, kind of sitting up on the, on the 12th Street side or the Market Street side is a good place to check it all out. And that's a lot of good things to do.
I really fell in love with Wilmington on St. Patrick's Day. These are our shirts. We've done a shirt the last couple of years. We sell these,
it's more Dartmouth green than it is Kelly green, I might say.
Yeah. But this is just one example. We threw our businesses here on the back.
Nice.
So our 4 businesses. And then we donated, after we, recouped our costs, we donated the profits, back to the St. Patrick's Society. So that was
great.
awesome.
Awesome.
But that's when I really fell in love, because this place is just a madhouse and it's fun, it's exciting, and I just had a great time doing that. I had one other thing to say to you, but blanking on it now. Anything else you want to tell the people? Anything else?
No, just Wilmington's a great place to be. Great place to be somebody. It's in the middle of it all, and so come here, live here, buy a house here. Rent a place here. Get a job downtown. Open a business out on one of the corridors in the neighborhoods across the city. It's just a great place to be. It's again, halfway between Washington, D.C. and New York, and you got Philadelphia and Baltimore right close by. You can be an Eagles, Phillies, 76ers fan if you want, Flyers fan,
100%.
Big Five fan, all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's for me, that's kind of who I am. I grew up here. I'm a clay monster who has lived in Wilmington for almost 40 years and just really love the place.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yep. Well, Mayor Carney, it's been an absolute pleasure. We appreciate you guys tuning in. And that was episode 121 of Life on the Ave. Love y'all. Thanks.